Hey everybody, it's Paul. Welcome back to epictcgchannel. We're going to do a video today, which is going to be kind of fun. It's going to be my top 25 commons and uncommons that are under $2 from Ultimate Masters. So this video is by request. We've had a bunch of people ask about the commons and the uncommons, kind of bummed out just talking about how playable and how awesome they are, and saying that because I do a lot of financial stuff on this channel, I don't really talk enough about them. So this video is for you guys. So these are in no particular order. These are 25 cards from Ultimate Masters that are under $2 as of the filming of this video that I think are just awesome cards. So the first one is Terramorphic Expanse. This is going to be the only land that makes the list for me. This is just my own personal list, and these are going to be ones that you may not be thinking. These may not be the obvious choices. So let's see, sacrifice Terramorphic Expanse, search your library for a basic land card, put it into the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So a couple things with this. Number one, love the artwork. Number two, it's a land card. Got to tap it to activate it. But this is nice for a couple reasons. Number one, it can fix your mana. As long as you're playing with basic lands, you can search for one that you need, great in Commander, but it also thins out your deck. So does a couple things there. So Terramorphic Expanse makes the list. Vessel of Endless Rest. So this is 3 mana. This is the only artifact. This is a common card. Terramorphic Expanse was common also. So this is another common. When Vessel of Endless Rest enters the battlefield, put target card from a graveyard on the bottom of its owner's library. Tap, add 1 mana of any color. So this is another, kind of does 2 different things. Number one, it puts something from your graveyard onto the bottom of your library, which then you could use tutors or whatever to retrieve it. So it kind of gives you that effect. It also becomes, essentially a Mox Diamond after it comes into play. The downside is it costs 3 mana. This card would probably be way overpowered at... It would definitely be at 1 mana. At 2 mana, I feel like this card could be 2 mana, but I'm sure they play tested it at all different mana costs, and probably 3 mana is right. This to me just seems like a fun card. There's a lot of strategy. A lot of times I would like to get something out of my graveyard, put it back into the deck. So this seems like a fun card. Certainly, I don't think it's showing up in many competitive decks, but I feel like that could be a fun one. All right, going on to gold. So I told you these are in no particular order. This is probably my favorite card right here of these. And what's funny is a lot of these cards can be had for like 10 cents to a quarter each. I don't think many of these at all are over $1. Bourbon Evolution. This is another one. It costs 1 blue, 1 green, and then 3 colorless. So 5 mana total. Draw 3 cards. You may play an additional land this turn. So it lets you ramp, number one. And number two, you get to draw 3 cards. I think that this is a really good effect for 1 card. I love the drawing 3. I like that you can play that additional land. To me, that's really great. Again, the cost of this card is kind of what's keeping it in check. The cost, when I say, I'm talking about the mana cost. For this video, when I say cost, that's what I mean, mana cost. I feel like that's what's keeping this in check, but it's probably a very well-balanced card. Could definitely see this being a good commander card. Something where a lot of mana is really not going to be a problem. Games are going to go longer. I think that could be a good card. All right, Vengeful Rebirth makes the cut also. So I have loved this artwork since we have started opening these. This one costs 1 green, 1 red, and 4 colorless. So 6 is the converted mana cost. Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. If you return a non-land card to your hand this way, Vengeful Rebirth deals damage equal to that card's converted mana cost to any target. And then you exile Vengeful Rebirth. So this to me could just do so many different things. Number one, you're getting something from your graveyard back to your hand. So even better than Bourbon Evolution. So it's a regrowth, but it's also like... it's not a Stormseeker. Stormseeker did something different. It was damaged in a different way, but just because it's green, I'm thinking that way. You could this could go in a deck where you're discarding like really big creatures into your graveyard, and then pull them back out and just deal direct damage with this. I'm sure it would get countered more times than not, but it would be a fun combo to pull off. I just like the utility of the card. To me, it seems cool. All right, same with gold. Blast of Genius. 1 red, 1 blue, 4 colorless. seeing a theme there with the casting cost. Sorcery, choose any target, draw 3 cards, then discard a card. Blast of Genius deals damage equal to the discarded card's converted mana cost to that permanent or player. So again, same kind of idea as Vengeful Rebirth, except for now you're drawing 3 cards. You're going to discard one of them, but you're going to deal direct damage with that discarded card's converted mana cost. So imagine you were playing like a modern deck, but kind of a casual game, and you're doing the Eldrazi, and you've got Emrakul in there, which is a 15/15, and you Blast of Genius, draw an Emrakul, discard it. So it's in your graveyard, deal 15 damage, and then you Vengeful Rebirth on the next turn, pulling Emrakul out. Same kind of idea. That's like 30 points of direct damage in 2 cards, plus an Emrakul. I'm sure there's lots of reasons why that won't work, but to me it just seems like a fun idea. All right, Angel of Despair. Oh, sorry guys, the last 4 cards, all these gold cards have been uncommon. Angel of Despair. Let's see. 2 black, 2 white, 3 colorless. So 7 mana total. And I think this is our first, this is our first creature that makes the list. It's not going to be our last. Flying. When Angel of Despair enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent. 5/5. So you get a big flyer for 7 converted mana. And when Angel of Despair enters the battlefield, it's going to destroy a permanent. So I love cards that do this kind of stuff, that have this enter the battlefield effect. Kind of lets you have a lot of utility in several cards. You're trading in casting costs for that. You're paying for it. But I love cards that can fill multiple spots. Again, I'm sure there's lots of reasons why this card doesn't work, but for casual play, I think this would just be a really fun card. I like the artwork on it too. I like that like eclipse going on in the background. All right, we're going to start off with red as our colored cards, and let's work our way right around the color wheel. We're going to start with Furnace Celebration. 2 red, 1 colorless mana. It's an enchantment. It's uncommon. Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, you may pay 2 colorless mana. If you do, Furnace Celebration deals 2 damage to any target. So this, to me, is a fun card in a burn deck, as kind of like being able to get that last little bit of damage in. You can kind of tap and then sacrifice lands. Tap 2 mountains for mana, sacrifice them both, and I'm sorry. You would let's see. You would have to sacrifice one. Sacrifice 1 mountain. You need 2 mana. So to tap two mountains, sacrifice one of them, one being tapped, and you can deal 2 damage to any target. So I feel like that's a good way to trade in like board presence that's no longer as effective for you, as long as you have the mana to do it. And obviously there's no limit to the amount of times you can do that per turn. So, fun card. So this card right here is my second favorite out of all these. This is Anger. It is 1 red mana, 3 colorless. It's a creature. It's an incarnation. It has haste. It's a 2/2, so it's actually very weak for the casting cost. But as long as Anger is in your graveyard and you control a mountain, won't be hard with red, creatures you control have haste. That seems to me to be a great benefit for all your creatures to have haste, just for the cost of this guy being in your graveyard. I don't know if there's any decks that use him, but that seems just incredibly fun to me. All right, Thermo Alchemist. Why can I not hold one of these? Thermo Alchemist is 1 red, 1 colorless. Anger was an uncommon. This guy's a common. He is a creature, a human shaman. He's a defender, meaning he can't attack. His ability is tap, and Thermo Alchemist deals 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, untap Thermo Alchemist. So he's kind of fun because he can block like little tokens or whatever, little 1/1 people or something with no problem. But the fun thing to me is in a multiplayer game, you can tap him and deal 1 damage to each opponent. I feel like you could combine him with other effects to really abuse this power. I forget the card name, but there's something when you deal an opponent damage, you get to draw a card. There's all kinds of equipment you could put on him. I think he could be a lot of fun in a multiplayer game. All right. Ingot Chewer, 1 red, 4 colorless common card. It's an elemental. When Ingot enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact. So this is another one of those, does double duty. He's a 3/3, so he is overpriced for his stats. But once you get him onto the field, he's going to be a 3/3 beat stick, which, that's something your opponent does have to deal with. And then you can evoke. For 1 red mana, you may cast the spell for its evoke cost. If you do, it's sacrificed when it enters the battlefield. So basically, you can destroy an artifact for 1 mana. So if the creature's not going to help you and you just really need to get rid of a troublesome artifact, he's your guy. All right, we've got a lot of red cards. Firewing Phoenix. 3 colorless, 1 red. Creature, Phoenix. It's an uncommon. Flying. 4/2 Flying Phoenix. What I like about this is for 1 colorless and 3 red, you can return Firewing Phoenix from your graveyard to your hand. So basically you can set up a recursion loop where you constantly are getting him out of your graveyard and then recasting him. Yes, it's mana intensive. Not sure that that's really what you want to be doing with your mana, because that's basically locking up 4 mana of different types for 2 turns to get him back, or 8 mana all in 1 turn, and that's a lot. But the fact of the matter is, unless your opponent does something to exile this from the game, they're going to have to constantly deal with it. So that's the nice part, because a 4/2 blocker, that's going to be able to block quite a bit. You're going to be able to trade this into your opponent's, attacking creature, and then you'll be able to get your card back, whereas he may not be able to. So that's, to me, that's important. That gives it some utility, makes it an interesting card in certain decks. Sorry, I've got this cold that keeps lingering. I've got some congestion going on. You can probably hear it in my voice. Next card is going to be a 1 red mana, 3 colorless, Malevolent Whispers. It's an uncommon, so most of these were uncommons. Sorcery, gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap that creature. It gets 2/2/0 and gets haste until the end of the turn. And it's got a madness cost. If you end up having to discard it, you can cast it for its madness cost. So this is pretty awesome. It's like a red control magic that only works for 1 turn, because hey, it's red. You're getting that creature, it's getting haste, it can attack immediately, it gets +2. So it's all kinds of different little effects combined together. Your opponent's getting the creature back at the end of the turn, but this is a great way to get rid of a meddlesome creature on your opponent's side, like a Sarah Angel, Wall of Swords. I'm thinking of cards from way back when that were the problem for red aggressive decks. So that's just kind of where my mind goes. But of course, if your opponent has a big, huge creature, you can always take that, attack with it. Hopefully you're going to finish your opponent off, because they're going to get it back at the end of the turn. All right, moving on to the color wheel. This is our Murderous Redcap little dude. So he is 2 colorless and then 2 mana in combination of black or red. You choose what you want. So he's an assassin, a goblin assassin. When Murderous Redcap enters the battlefield, it deals damage equal to its power to any target, and it has Persist. So when this creature dies, if it had no -1/-1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a -1/-1 counter on it. So it's going to come back as a 1/1, basically. So basically, you play this guy, you get a 2/2 creature, and he deals 2 damage as he enters the battlefield, which could get rid of a pesky, smaller creature that your opponent has, or just deal 2 damage directly to your opponent. When he leaves the battlefield, he can come back once as a 1/1, and guess what? He's going to deal 1 damage on his return trip. So kind of a fun card, a good way to kind of plink some of your opponent's little creatures away. Again, I love cards with a lot of utility. Unburial Rites, 4 colorless, 1 black mana. It's an uncommon. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, and then it has a flashback effect. So if this is in your graveyard, you can cast it again. That's really why I love this card, is because you can actually cast this twice. Basically, it's a very, very expensive Animate Dead or Resurrect or whatever, just a way to get big creatures out of your graveyard onto the battlefield, or a really important creature. But really, I see this as a way to cheat things out, and the fact that you can do it twice with that flashback cost is crazy. If you put this into would it be a dredge deck or discard deck, a deck which has a discard synergy where you're constantly discarding cards, the flashback is going to allow you to discard this card and still use it once. So, pretty cool. All right, next black card is going to be the Apprentices Necromancer. It is a 1 colorless, 1 black. It's an uncommon, and it's a zombie wizard. For 1 black mana and tap, you can sacrifice Apprentices Necromancer, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature gains haste, and at the beginning of the next end step, sacrifice it. So that creature's only going to live for 1 turn, but you're going to get to cheat a creature into play and give it haste. So, Eldrazi, I'm looking at you. Just a great way to cheat big creatures into play. All right, Shriekmaw. This is another uncommon. I'm going to count up how many uncommons I had here at the end. So 1 black, 4 colorless. It has fear, so it can't be blocked except by artifact creatures or black creatures. When Shriekmaw enters the battlefield, destroy target non-artifact, non-black creature. So it has a terror attached to it, and it's a 3/2 creature. So you get a 3/2 creature plus terror all in 1 card. It has an evoke cost. Let's see, you may cast this for its evoke cost. If you do, it's sacrificed, so it's the same thing as the Ingot Chewer. All right, next multicolored card is going to be Demeter Gildan H. Costs 2 mana in combination of blue or black. It's a human wizard. So for 3 colorless and 1 blue, a target player draws a card, activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery, or for 3 colorless and a black, target player discards a card, activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery. So a couple things to note. Number 1, it's a 2/2 creature. This is a common, by the way. We're back to a common card. It's a 2/2 creature for 2 mana, so that's decent. But these abilities, while a little bit overpriced for the abilities, it can be used multiple times in a turn if you have the mana. And if the creature sticks around for a while, it can just be a recurring thing. So definitely something your opponent's going to be forced to deal with. All right, on to the blue cards. Archaeomancer, it's like a wizard archaeologist. So 2 blue, 2 colorless, common card. When Archaeomancer enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 1/2 creature. So this really is just a way for, as an all blue player, to get something out of your graveyard back to your hand. It's kind of like a regrowth for instants or sorceries. But hey, blue has a bunch of cool instant sorceries that you're going to want back. As far as creature stats, not too big of a creature, just a good utility card though. Aether Snipe, 1 blue, 5 colorless. It's an elemental. When Aether Snipe enters the battlefield, return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, and you can cast this for an evoke cost also. So it's a 4/4 creature, so this is a sizable creature. And then it has a bounce effect where you can return something to its owner's hand. You can take back one of your things and recast it if it's got a cool enter the battlefield effect, or you can bounce something of your opponent's. Don't underestimate the benefit of bouncing something. It doesn't eliminate it permanently, but it forces that opponent to recast it and tie up their mana on another turn, recasting something they already cast once. If it doesn't have a powerful enter the battlefield effect, a lot of times it can be very good. All right, our next card is going to be Turn to Mist. It's 1 colorless mana and 1 mana of either white or blue. It's an instant. It's a common. Exile target creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this is a fun utility card to me. Number 1, it can get rid of a meddlesome blocker or just a problematic card of your opponent's. Get something out of the way so you can attack or so you can do something you want to do. But more importantly, or just as fun and flexible, you could exile one of your own creatures, Wrath of God, and then it comes back at the end of the turn. So kind of a fun card there. White, we are almost done, guys. All right, this is an uncommon, 1 white, 3 colorless, Sigil of the New Dawn enchantment. Whenever a creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay 1 colorless, 1 white. If you do, return that card to your hand. So the fact this is an enchantment is why I like it, because whenever a creature is put, sorry, I lost my train of thought, guys. Basically, it allows you to resurrect your creatures, for 1 white and 1 colorless. In like a white weenie strategy, that could definitely be a cool card. It's a cool looking card too. I like the castle in the background. All right. Next up is going to be Ranum Unicorn, 1 colorless, 1 white. It's a common card. It's a 2/2 unicorn. And sacrifice Ranum Unicorn, destroy target enchantment. So he's a creature, can be a 2/2, attacking creature. Plus, I just think it's fun to kill your opponent with a unicorn. But what's really fun about him is if you find yourself needing to, you can sacrifice him. He doesn't need to tap in order to sacrifice him, and you can destroy target enchantment. So again, gives you a way to get rid of pesky enchantments your opponent might have. Could be used in like an aggro deck, and if your opponent throws down something like a moat or an ensnaring bridge, well, ensnaring bridge won't work because that's artifact. But a moat, you know, your unicorn can take out the moat. It's the magic of the unicorn. All right, we do not have any white and green combo cards, so now green's going to be our last color. Basking Root Wallet. This may be a card that you expected on this list. 1 green. It's a 1/1 creature. It's a common. For 1 colorless and 1 green, Basking Root Wallet gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate this ability only once each turn. So I like this because it can be played on turn 1 for 1 green. And then on turn 2, you can pump him, and he's a 3/3. You know, and basically, you know, it's a card that can be a 3/3, you know, in the late game when you have a lot more mana than you need, and it's not a big deal to keep tapping it. The mid game is where I really feel like this guy does not do all that well because you're having to tie up 2 mana in order to keep him a 3/3. But the fact you can play him on turn 1 and on turn 2 he's a 3/3, I like that. I also like the flexibility that you can activate that, you know, at your discretion. If your opponent blocks with something and you can kill it, activate the ability. If not, then hey. All right. Kodama's Reach, you knew it was on here. This is the best-selling card of the set and has been for a long, long time. Faithless Looting and Gurmag Angler have replaced it from time to time, but this one always seems to come back. So it is 1 green, 2 colorless, it's a common, it's a sorcery. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, and put 1 into the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand. Then shuffle your library. So once again, this is going to give you a... Basically, this is going to be a 3-for-1 deck thinning thing, because here's your 1 card, and then you're going to pull 2 more cards out of your library, which are basic lands. So you don't have to waste your draw step on those. You're going to put 1 into the battlefield, which, you know, is going to allow you to ramp, and the other one's going to be in your hand, so that way next turn you can play that. All around, just a great card. A lot of people want these. It's, you know, obviously it's a great card. It's been the number 1 seller, and I love these trees right here. That artwork's really awesome. Last one. Last card on my list is Penumbra Worm. It is 2 green, 5 colorless. It's an uncommon, and it is a worm. It's a 6/6 trample worm. When Penumbra Worm dies, create a 6/6 black worm creature token with trample. So what I like about this card is when he dies, if he's not exiled from the game, if he's destroyed, if Wrath of God or something or whatever, you're going to create a 6/6 black card, you know, creature that's basically the same thing as this. So for 7 mana, he's a 6/6 creature that kind of comes back automatically just by dying. So your opponent's going to be forced to deal with this in a little bit different of a way than they would normally have to. If they don't counter it on the way out, they're going to have to Swords to Plowshare it or Path to Exile it. They're going to have to exile it. If they don't, they're going to have to deal with it twice. So I think this is a pretty awesome card. I like that. All right, that is going to do it. We went through 25 cards, read every single one of them, so you knew the casting costs and everything. That's for people who maybe have never seen these cards before. Plus, it just kind of allowed me to get a little bit more familiar with them, know what they do, talk about them a little bit more. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know it was a little bit different. Tell me, what did I miss? What did I not have on the list here that you would have put on the list? And hey, let's just agree right now not to put Eternal Witness up there because, you know, everybody knows how great Eternal Witness is. So what would you have put here? What would you not have put here? What did I say in this video? Like, that's just stupid. I think these are pretty awesome cards, and like I say, we just don't talk about them a whole lot on this channel because these are not the heavy hitters in terms of value, but these, in my opinion, are what makes the set great because even the commons and the uncommons, and I just picked out 25, even the commons and uncommons are awesome cards in the set. So anyway, hope you guys liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.